now in 2021 and later on this year and definitely into 2022, travel is going to begin again. I don't know about you, but this is the longest that my passport has not been used. My suitcase is gathering dust and I am so desperate to have a vacation. The last 13 months, 12 months has been very difficult for all of us. I think we feel cooped up, we feel bored. And I think like many of us, we can't wait to get out there and see the world. Travel fulfills us. That's why we do it. And I know you've been missing it too. So that's why we're running these travel talks, to keep you informed on what's happening in the industry and to give you things to get excited about. Our Expedia offices are open right now. Due to the restrictions of COVID, we are asking that you either call or email to make appointments so that we can make sure that we can follow the COVID protocols. Our vacation specialists are here to help you plan your bucket list and also to help you navigate, because when travel starts again, it's going to be a little bit more complicated than it has been before. So now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our special guest, Shauna Carter, Business Development Manager of AmaWaterways, who is coming to us from her home in Kelowna. So welcome, Shauna.
Hi, thank you, Lisa. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. Yes, hi, Captain Tony and all of you. I see lots of familiar faces. And like Lisa, my suitcase is at the door, ready to go as soon as I can. And not even just international travel. I'm, anxious to get back to Alberta and come into Edmonton and see everybody again and be able to talk to you one-on-one. So thank you for letting me join you this evening.
You're welcome, Shauna. I have to say, you probably are one of the most knowledgeable people that I know about river cruising, because I think you told me you have done 22 AmaWaterways river cruises.
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky because, I've been in travel. This is my 41st year, believe it or not. Yes, I started when I was 10, and I have spent the last just over 10 years with AmaWaterways, and I've been fortunate enough to do all our itineraries. Africa, I did Myanmar when we were there, the Mekong, I'm doing Egypt in April, and of course all the incredible Europe itineraries. So it's become my passion, traveling around Europe and seeing how much more I can explore and discover.
Wonderful. So just to clarify to everybody, it is AmaWaterways, not AMA, and you're not connected to AMA in any way, shape, or form. Shauna, tell us a little bit about, because your product might be new to some of the participants that we have with us tonight. So who is AmaWaterways?
Well, thank you, Lisa. Good question, because I know a lot of you know about us because you've come to the Expedia shows in Edmonton, and I've had the chance to talk with you one-on-one, but some of you might be new to river cruising and perhaps new to AmaWaterways. And we are actually a family-owned company. We've been in business since 2002. And we were founded by these three incredible families: Rudy Schreiner, Christine Karst, and actually Gary's dad, Jimmy Murphy. And they are all from Europe. And, they really have this wonderful vision of what they wanted North Americans to experience when they came on the rivers. And so they started their own company. But Rudy's really known as the godfather of river cruising because, if you know the other top American lines, Uniworld, he started river cruising for them. And he's the one that actually started the Douro River Cruise in Portugal. And then he went on to open Viking River Cruises for North America, then Avalon Waterways. And then, as I say, 2002, they decided to start their own company. So a wealth of knowledge. Rudy's also an architect by trade, so he does a lot of our ship design. And these three families are so involved day in, day out. And when you have great people at the top, it just trickles all the way down.
Shauna, I want to say that I was very, very happy to hear that AmaWaterways was able to sail successfully last summer. They were the only river cruise line. So can you tell us a little bit about that and where we are now? What's happening in the industry for you?
Yes, well, as you all know, travel has been restricted. At this time, we are currently suspended until the end of April, and we are eagerly awaiting the green light, so to speak, so that we can return to river cruising. And of course, once travel restrictions are lifted and people are getting their vaccinations and we have our advisories from all the countries and such, then we'll begin sailing again. But as you said, Lisa, last year, we were the only North American river line that was actually sailing. And obviously North Americans weren't able to come over, but we were able to work with a great tour operator in Germany. And so from July of 2020 all the way through till November of 2020, we were able to have 1,500 guests sail with us on the Rhine, and we didn't have one issue. So it was really wonderful for us to be able to welcome people on board. It was great for our crew too. And then also, sort of see how things worked out and, how we were going to be masked and, doing, touchless temperature checks and then health questionnaires and having hand sanitization stations and such, which we've always had. So that's really, the hand sanitizers and stuff, that's nothing new for us. But just how did we work it with the guests on board? And we asked them to wear masks as they were walking around the ship. But once they were outside or on the sun deck or in the forward lounge sitting down or in the dining room or of course in their stateroom, they were able to take their masks off. Now the crew of course were staying in masks the entire time and you can see them there. And what was even better is that everything that we offer, all our incredible choices, whether it's afternoon tea or late night snacks or all the meals in the dining room or the chef's table, everything was served to the guests. So they were very, very pampered. And you can see them sitting in the lounge here. They were able to sort of social distance and yet still, talk to the other guests on board. So, and of course, coming up top to the beautiful sun deck where you're going to take in those beautiful views of either side of the river. So that was really wonderful for us. We probably will start with them again, hopefully in May. And we're really hopeful to be able to start sailing this summer. But as I say, we will when it's safe to do so.
Okay, thank you, Shauna. That's great information. So I think everybody knows the river cruise industry is one of the largest, the fastest growing part of the cruise industry. And there are many companies that do river cruising. Tell us a little bit about AmaWaterways, how you are different. What do you do different than some of the other cruise lines that separates and differentiates you?
Well, when it came to river cruising, as I say, Rudy and Christine, of course, being European and having this incredible vision of what they wanted our guests to experience on board, I think one of our greatest differences was really just under promising and over delivering. And so the guests know what to expect when they're coming on board, but there's so many more surprises and delights that take place that they don't even know about, that they just are always every day having that aha moment. And what I really love about river cruising, and as you say, Lisa, we are seeing this huge surge, which probably really comes from the fact that we're right in the destination. We're always in the countries we're traveling through. We're minutes away from shore. And when you arrive at the ship, our ships at max capacity only carry 160 guests, except for our one beautiful Emma Magna, who's twice as large, but only still carries 190. And, they come to the ship, their luggage is taken and sanitized and delivered to their staterooms. They can unpack, they can come anytime they want during the day. There's no time restrictions. They get up on the top deck, they have a drink, they maybe stroll into town before it's time for our welcome party. And so really, they're not spending all their holiday time trying to find where to go for dinner or what tours to take. We're going to let them know exactly everything that's available to them day after day. And of course, you know, all the dining and everything. So you really get to double your leisure time, which is so important. And people are so excited to get away that they just want to get there and really start enjoying their holiday right away. Another wonderful thing with AmaWaterways is that we have these cruise managers on board our ships, and he or she is there for our guests the entire journey of the cruise, you know, time of the cruise, but also before and after. You know, we are visiting some of these incredible rivers, but there's so many wonderful cities that aren't necessarily on the rivers. You know, for example, Barcelona or Prague, Istanbul, Madrid, Lisbon, the list goes on and on. And we offer these wonderful pre and post land packages just to wrap around these beautiful river experiences. And the cruise managers are with the guests from the beginning of that package. So they meet them at the hotel, they have a welcome party that night, they do breakfast every morning, they're on the city tours, and then when it's time to go to the ship, they transfer with the guests. And those guests that take those pre and post, by the time they get to the ship, they're kind of like, this is our person, because they know them, they've been together a few days. And then of course, traveling with the guests on the ship, making sure they know exactly every day, you know, because it's, even I do it. Sometimes I'm like, Monica, where are we going tomorrow? And she has to remind me, and okay, which tour should I take? Which one's the best one? And just, you know, they do an outstanding job. And then again, at the end of the cruise, if our guests are traveling onwards to another city with us, then they travel with them again. So it creates this incredible bond with our guests. But then there's also our incredible, you know, team, our crew on board, our dining staff, our waiting staff, or pardon me, our bartending staff, our naval officers and our captain, the cruise managers, all our tour guides. They just, you know, do a wonderful job. And I know everybody says that, but they really do become part of your family, and they want to know everything about you. I'm always amazed at how quickly they know your name, they know what drinks you like, you know, if you're diabetic or celiac or something, we've already notified the maitre d', but they all know. And it's wonderful that, you know, they take an interest and really look after our guests while they're on board. And then of course there's our beautiful ships. You know, we were the first to come out. As I say, Rudy's an architect, so he does these incredible innovations. But, you know, we came out with our beautiful twin balcony ships. We have our French balcony ships. So creating, you know, lots of comfort and luxury on board the ship, and also, you know, space, making it easy for the guests with everything there, bathrobes, slippers, bathroom amenities. You've got Wi-Fi in every stateroom with an actual Apple monitor and you know, keyboard, Wi-Fi throughout the ship, which is, of course, is complimentary. And, you know, that's a big thing for a lot of people. They want to make sure they can, you know, stay connected. And an interesting tip, you know, little bit of information is that we actually spend more money on Wi-Fi than we do on fuel. And that's the truth. So, but, you know, also at the same time, recognizing that we want to be sustainable, we want to protect the environment, and all of our Europe ships were awarded the Green Award, which recognizes that. You know, we have great staterooms, everything from, you know, solo staterooms to lovely window staterooms, French balcony, twin balcony. We even have connecting staterooms on some of our ships. We know today that so many families, multi-generational families, are wanting to travel together, especially after being separated for so long. Sometimes it's grandparents and, you know, older children and then their children, friends, whatever it might be. And so, you know, we have these wonderful opportunities because most ships won't have connecting staterooms. We also have third and fourth capability on some of the ships. So lots of choices when it comes to the staterooms. And really it's, you know, it's however you like to travel. Our swimming pools on our ships, you know, that's not necessarily standard. Fitness center, and all the amenities. Now, you know, if you love casinos and 27 shows and all of that. You're just never going to find that on a river cruise. These ships are just too small, right? They're long and narrow and built for these rivers so that they can navigate under the bridges and go through the locks. But one of our greatest differences really is all our tour choices. And, you know, every day you have anywhere from 2 to 6 choices, and whether it's walking tours with different activity levels, so gentle walking, active walking, a late riser for those lazy bones who can't get out there at 9 o'clock. We have these incredible walking tours, and you've got your audio vox box. It's a little one earpiece, and you can see them around the neck of the guests there and the tour guide, and you tap the lollipop and you're connected. So I took this picture actually on my last cruise, so that was a year and a bit ago now, and you can see they were already small groups. That's part of what we were doing, but now that becomes even more important. And on top of that, you know, biking, we carry all our bikes. We were the first to have bikes on all our Europe ships, except in Portugal, because it's all hills in Portugal. But, you know, you've got bikes, you can go on your own, you can go with guides, you've got hiking. We do some really great hikes, and we have, you know, gentle hikes and more advanced hikes. And then we have a wellness host as well on our ships, all our Europe ships. That's, you know, he or she's hosting yoga, stretching. There's about 4 to 5 classes a day, and of course they're all included. And what better way to get up in the morning and go into the lounge or up top and, you know, do some stretching and start your day. It's a great way to work out the kinks, especially if you've been flying and traveling. And then it comes to, you know, what we're offering for dining and for drinks. And with AmaWaterways, wine is a huge part of what we're doing. You know, not only do we have wonderful wine on all our cruises, we actually have over 60 wine hosts every year that come and join us from North America, and they're bringing their wine as well. And so wine's a big thing for us. We have an incredible wine cruise program. So when you're on board with us, you know, we want you to try these incredible varietals from all the different countries and areas that we're visiting. And so we change the red and whites every day. So you get to try all these, you know, different varietals, and you'll have, you know, beer at lunch and dinner, wine at lunch and dinner included, as much as you like. We have a sip and sail cocktail party every day for an hour before dinner. You can have a martini or a wine or a beer. And it's really nice because when you've been out all day touring and you come back to the ship, you know, the guests really enjoy that time, or they get a drink and they go to their stateroom, or they might go up top onto the sun deck and just watch if we're, you know, we might be sailing at that point, or we might just be still docked and they can just, you know, take in the scenery. So, you know, you've got all of those things included, and all your coffees and bottled water and such. So that's what happens in terms of, you know, all the beverages. And then we have our dining, which we win awards for every year. And a nice thing with us as well is not only do we have all the, you know, our beautiful dining rooms with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, different choices every day, fish, vegetarian meats, and everything is fresh. Nothing is ever frozen. But we also have our alternative dining venue, which is the chef's table. And so if you're used to ocean cruising, you know, a lot of those alternative dining venues have a service charge, and ours is complimentary. So you just book it on board the ship, and it's a 5-course tasting menu, completely different than the dining room, and very, very nice. And we can, you know, cater to all dietary needs. If you're celiac, what have you, it's not a problem for us in Europe. And they, as I said earlier, they do an amazing job. And then of course, after a full day of touring and a happy hour and then dinner, it's really wonderful to come into the lounge. And on a couple of nights of the cruise, maybe 4 or 5, we'll have local entertainment that will come to the ship. And, you know, it could be dancers, it might be singers, or musicians. And, you know, what a beautiful way to end your evening. And then for those who like to stay up late, you can stay in the forward lounge, have some more drinks, do some dancing. Our policy is the bar and the lounge doesn't close till everybody goes to bed. So sometimes, I know, Lisa, I've sailed with you. We've been up Well, I've sailed with quite a few of you actually, and we've closed that quite late. So, you know, so much to do, so much to see. And as I say, all these things, but even so much more that I couldn't even tell you about. And I don't want to, because you got to have some surprises left.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. Now, tell us, I look at this map and it's like all these wonderful, beautiful cities. Shauna, will you go through some of the itineraries and some of the highlights of those itineraries?
Yes, this is, I love this map because it really gives you a sense of how much of Europe you can travel through on the rivers. You know, when I used to sail by ocean, which I love ocean cruising, but when I'd sail by ocean, I really thought I'd covered a lot of Europe until I started going on the rivers. And I was like, wow, I haven't even seen most of this country. So, you know, you've got Portugal, the Douro in Portugal. If you look at my cursor down here, you've got France with, you know, 5 different rivers and itineraries there. You have the Netherlands up here, which is even, you know, something altogether different, because when you're in the Netherlands and Belgium, you're not even on the rivers, you're on the waterways of Holland and Belgium. And then you have the very traditional Rhine River that comes out of Amsterdam and sails down to Basel, just at the top of Switzerland there. Or of course, you can go in the opposite direction. You have the Moselle. Look at this little snaky river here. Beautiful, probably the most beautiful river in Europe. Then you come through on the Main, looks like Maine, but it's Main. And then through the Main-Danube Canal, which opened in 1992 and connected the Rhine to the Danube. So then you could sail from the North Sea all the way to the Black Sea. It's 106 miles long with 16 locks. So it's also an incredible engineering feat. And in the center of the Main-Danube Canal, it's called the Continental Divide. It's the highest point above sea level in Europe. Now you can come along here and you turn into the Danube, and there's the upper Danube and there's the lower Danube. So as you move down here to Budapest, that's what we refer to as the upper Danube. And then the longest part of any cruise is going from Budapest down below here to Giurgiu, just below Bucharest. And the Danube is actually the longest river as well. It's 2,850 kilometers, so, and through 8 countries. So you can see you've got lots of choices. Now, I'm just gonna very quickly sort of highlight the rivers and show you a few photos, because there's about 35 itineraries and I could have you here forever. So I'll just give you some of the highlights. But as I mentioned, we are up in Holland and Belgium. And this is a really special area. It's a really beautiful way to come and see this part of Europe. And of course, you know, tulips. Tulip time is very special over in Holland. And the Tulip time cruises run, it's a very short window. They're just basically the end of March to the beginning of May. And yet you have this wonderful time in Amsterdam. You get to see all the wonderful tulips. You get a little taste of Belgium going into Antwerp and Ghent and into Bruges. On this itinerary, you don't go into Brussels. And then you've got Rotterdam and Delft. You know, Delft is the China, the beautiful China that comes from there. Haarlem, Zaandam, the Keukenhof area for the tulip gardens, of course, and so much more. Middelburg is where all the waterworks are, you know, the big giant electronic dam they built to control those waterways and such. And then the Best of Holland cruise runs May to October. And I'm so glad this was new for us in 21, that we did this across the summer as well. And now you get a little bit more of Belgium by being able to add in Brussels, and also more time in Amsterdam. And you can actually back either one of those up to a Rhine cruise as well and see Holland, Belgium, and then, you know, take the Rhine cruise. So Amsterdam, known as the Venice of the North, it's a beautiful city, all the canals all around. And, you know, if you've never been to Amsterdam, I really recommend you come in early. There's a lot to see, you know, the Rijksmuseum, Anne Frank's house, so many things. And you can book your museum tickets online in advance. And that way, when you come on your holiday, you've got your tickets, you're not spending your time waiting in line or not getting tickets at all. So do spend some extra time if you've never been, and come in for a few days before or stay a few days after. There's the beautiful tulip fields and the windmills, of course, which are famous for this area. I'm just showing you some of the highlights. Bruges, one of my, very favorite cities there. It's kind of like a little medieval fairy tale place. And of course, in Belgium, that's where you try all those wonderful chocolates and the beer, and also Belgian fries, because they weren't actually French. They are from Belgium. So there's a big fight between the French and the Belgium over who started the French fry, but their fries are very good. Now, after that, we can look at the Rhine and the Main and the Moselle. Beautiful rivers, lots of castles. So this is really where you're going to get those vineyards and the castles, and some of those very historic cities. This map just kind of gives you a bird's eye view. You can see the Rhine here going down to Basel. So you come out of Holland, and then you have France and Germany nestled, you're nestled between, and then Switzerland at the bottom. The Moselle is here. It's that very little snaky river that I mentioned earlier that, oh, I love. You have to go on the Moselle. It's so beautiful. Lots of vineyards here. Very famous wines, especially the whites, of course, come from this area, and more castles. And then the Main is over here. So that's when you leave the Rhine and head out to the Main, Danube Canal, to head to the Danube. So you'd see Amsterdam, of course, but also Cologne, with the beautiful Cologne Cathedral, at one time, a very long time ago, considered one of the tallest structures in Europe, and a lot of history attached to this area. The beautiful Rhine River Gorge, we spend typically 3/4 of a day sailing through this area. There's castle after castle after castle, and the cruise manager will be giving you, a commentary on, okay, this is the castle of so-and-so, and all the history. And then, sometimes there's just some scenic viewing. So the cruise manager will say, okay, everybody get ready, get your cameras. We're coming up on another castle. And we have a map too for you that's a castle map, so you can follow along and not miss any of these beautiful castles. Strasbourg in France, this lovely city with all these half-timbered homes, the most quaint city when you get into the old center of town. The Christmas markets here are amazing, and the city just goes crazy with decorations. And so really a lovely spot. And then Basel, and there's so much more, but these are just some of the highlights, of course, in the main cities along this river. Now, Basel itself is a beautiful city, but after you finish a Rhine cruise, you have the opportunity to go with us over to Lucerne and Zurich. And beautiful cities, not far away at all. At Christmas, even more beautiful. I love, and you got to have cheese fondue when you go to Lucerne, and so much more. But new this year, we added, if you can believe it, Italy. So if you do a Rhine cruise with us, you can start or end in Basel, depending on which direction you're going. But before or after, you can take a journey with us, go through the Swiss Alps, and then through the longest tunnel over into Lake Como area. This happens to be the little town of Bellagio. I love this little town. And Como Lake sits at the very bottom of Lake Como. And then, so we'll go exploring around the lake, and we'll spend 3 nights here. And you can, like me, try and find George Clooney. So I didn't find George, but I found his house, but I didn't find George. But very, very beautiful. So these are the things you can add on to cruises, once you've done your river cruise. So I wanted to mention, just in case anybody loves flowers or plants, or wants to know more about gardening and such, there's a giant world, and I mean giant, world expo called the Floriade, and it only takes place every 10 years. And so 2020 got moved to 2022. So any cruise you take that starts or ends in Amsterdam will take you to the Floriade. And it's not just an exposition, there's rides, there's a big cable car, there's pavilions and music and food and everything you could ever want to know about plants and flowers and the ecosystem, everything. So it's quite special. So we have that too. The Moselle River, as I mentioned, my fave. This is the beautiful Moselle curve. But look at those vineyards. I mean, they literally plant vineyards on every available piece of soil. So it's really lovely. And Cochem Castle, Bern Castle, these are all places you could see along the Moselle. Coming over on the Main to head towards the Main-Danube Canal. Again, a really lovely area, and you come into some very interesting places like Mainz, where the beautiful cathedral is with Marc Chagall's windows. You know, he was a Russian painter, and put these beautiful stained glass windows throughout this church. And also, you know, the Gutenberg Museum, where the Gutenberg printing press was, you know, all that history for when they were printing the Bible, the first Bible. So lots of great history there. Bamberg, a UNESCO town, city, known for its smoky beer, because many years ago they had a huge fire and all the beer got smoked out, and then they created smoky beer. So from these tragedies comes some new history and stuff. So very interesting. Rottenburg. You know, look at the lovely houses. And, you know, one of the things I find really interesting when you move through Europe, you'll notice all these houses are really skinny at the bottom and then they get fat at the top. And people are like, why do they build like that? And it's because of the taxes. They're taxed on the square footage of their foundation. So they make it small and then they go big at the top. So you'll always see these kind of colored homes and such. France, of course, as I mentioned, 5 beautiful itineraries where you're, you know, starting or ending for the most part many times in the beautiful city of Paris. Who doesn't love going to Paris? And, you know, you can do beaches of Normandy. And of course, for our Canadian guests, we go to the Canadian beaches. This is Omaha Beach, but we do go Canadian Beach, Canadian Cemetery, the Canadian War Museum and such. So that's a big part of that journey, of course. And the art history, seeing Monet's gardens. And you may or may not know, but Vincent van Gogh, he actually lived at the end of his life in Auvers-sur-Oise. This is a little town on the Seine, and he is actually buried there. So on that itinerary on the Seine, there is a lot of art history, not so much wine. There's apples, Calvados, lots of cheese, like 240 different types of cheeses. And we have wonderful stays here, new this year, St. Malo, and visiting Mont Saint-Michel, so a 3-night package in the Brittany region of France, which is so beautiful and has sort of a lot of history back to Buccaneer pirate days and such. But there's Mont Saint-Michel with that beautiful abbey and, you know, the town around it. And then the tide goes out 2 or 3 times a day, like 40 feet, and creates this wet bed of land, and then all the water comes up again. So very beautiful. Coming over to the Rhone and the Saône for the beautiful Burgundy, Beaujolais, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, these wonderful wine regions where you can see Provence and all the wonderful cities along this river, including Arles, which is one of my favorites. And it's always interesting to me as we move through some of these countries, all the Roman history and the architectures, like the Pont de Gogh out of Avignon, which is, you know, what remains of the Roman aqueducts that were built through France. And here you can see the amphitheater down below, and of course the Colosseum there, and so much incredible history. Avignon, one of the few remaining walled cities of Europe, the original papal palace in the background there, and what remains of the Avignon Bridge. Lyon, who doesn't want to go there? It's a gastronomical delight. Beautiful, beautiful city. And cruises, some of the cruises start or end here in this city. And then we've got packages where you can go to Barcelona, you can go to Geneva, extend that even farther. And in 2023, we're going to add in this beautiful Monaco and Nice package where you'll even go up and see that beautiful little town of Ez up on the mountaintop. So much to do. Bordeaux, the king of wine country with Bordeaux wines. Also the Cognac region is here, and Cognac, of course, and the lovely white Sauterne wines, a little bit sweeter, but lovely. So, and a gorgeous city. So even if you're not a wine lover, so much history here. You're docked right here in the heart of the city. And then we go off and explore this beautiful countryside with all these lovely chateaus. So in France, they call wineries chateaus, and in Portugal, they call them quintas. So the name changes as you go along. And with Bordeaux, you can do a beautiful 4-night package in Bilbao. There's the Guggenheim Museum there that we include in our tour, and also going into beautiful San Sebastian. So again, why not go? And then after Bordeaux, we have a beautiful package that goes through the Loire Valley on your way up to Paris. So lots and lots of choices. Now, speaking of all those pre and post land packages for France, right now till the end of March, we are including most of those packages for free if you book a cruise. So it will end at the end of March. We extended it one more month, but it's incredible value. And what better way to enhance your holiday than to add on, you know, a land stay there. So now we move to the Danube, as I mentioned, one of the longest river areas in Europe. And you can see the Danube starts as soon as you come through the Main-Danube Canal. You're on to the Danube as you come all the way down into Giurgiu. That's as far as you go, because after that, it's a very industrial sort of area. You don't sail past that area, but so many opportunities. So you've got your very beautiful Danube itinerary with, you know, iconic cities like Vienna and Bratislava and Budapest. And then you have the southeast area of the Danube known as the Gems. And this is a very different part of Europe, a little bit more war-torn, but with a very different history. And you have places like Transylvania to go to Dracula's castle and visit Bucharest, and also sail through the Iron Gates. So that just gives you a sort of a detailed view there of, you know, that particular itinerary. But look at all those countries you can travel through. That would be, if you did both, it would be 14 nights, or you can do them independently, 7 nights. And Budapest, you know, this is a very iconic shot of Budapest. You know, you sail in or out on the Danube, and you've got on the Parliament side, the Buda side of the city, and up on the other side, you can see the hill that's known as Gellert Hill. And that statue right here, it's this beautiful woman, and she's sort of got these things behind her like wings or something. And it's called the Freedom Statue, the Liberty Statue, representing all the people that fought for freedom for Hungary and independence. And that's the Pest side of Buda, just the most incredible city. So again, you must spend extra time in Budapest. And there's just looking back the other way. Bratislava in Slovakia, another wonderful city. And we always go into the old part of cities. You know, we don't go into the newer sections because they're just newer cities. But the old town is where all the history is, like Napoleon. And then you can go up to the castle and you can hike up there. And then we come into Vienna. These are just some of the stops along the way where you take in, you know, all the history of the Habsburgs and so much more. Dürnstein, one of my favorite little towns. Look at how beautiful that is. I actually have this picture from when we were all, our sales team, on the Danube not this last January, but before. And it was January, and look at that beautiful blue sky and this lovely little town. It's just amazing. Iron Gates, as I mentioned, as you come through that gorge, there's King Decebulus up on the hill. And this is sort of dividing Serbia and Romania, this natural path that's dividing with this gorge. It's a very, very deep part of the Danube. And the Danube is actually the deepest river in Europe. So it can go anywhere from like, you know, 10 feet to 128 feet, which is quite unusual. And then we come down and see so much, but just, you know, there's a highlight, Belogradchik, you know, fortress, which was built in between this incredible rock formation, and so much more. Now, look at this building. You know, if you get off the ship and you go and do a Bucharest post or pre-stay with us and go to Transylvania for the castle and everything, you'll see this building even if you don't go on our land package. But this is it's like a government administrative building. It's the second largest building of its kind in the world next to the Pentagon. It's huge. So, you know, really, really interesting. Portugal, I mentioned, is my fave. I did this cruise with Lisa. We were fortunate enough to go and drink all that beautiful wine and port and see. Look at this lovely valley. So peaceful and quiet as you come through and you see all the quintas and the vineyards and of course, port. This is the whole river is a UNESCO area because of the port being grown in this area. So you can do a one-way cruise, you can do a round trip cruise, you can add in Lisbon and Madrid. So much to do in this beautiful area. And I just want to quickly point out what's coming for 2023, very exciting for Europe. We're going to be adding a beautiful, so this is 2023. Yes, we have all our cruises till the end of 2023. We have this beautiful music themed cruise. Can you imagine going into the Budapest Opera House, which I have been in, onto the stage, hearing somebody sing, going behind the stage, walking through the halls and such. So really lovely. Milk Abbey, a must when you do the Danube, the Salzburg excursion, a Vienna concert, so much more. So if you love music, and adding on a brand new 3-night package in Krakow, Poland. We have a new 5-night cruise coming for the Danube. So Budapest, Bratislava, Vienna, the real highlights, capital cities of the Danube, and staying fairly close together so you can do those Salzburg extensions going to Krakow, which is a little ways away. It's about a 7-hour journey away, but it's so beautiful. So that will be coming. As I mentioned, we'll have an actual full-on Salzburg extension. We do visit Salzburg on our Danube itineraries. It's included as a tour, but if you want to spend more time, you can do it after. And as I say, Krakow will be coming, and we'll have an Auschwitz visit and such. So very, very interesting. And I mentioned the Nice and Monaco package, but I have to just tell you, because we're getting short on time, the 7-river journey. So we just announced this 2 weeks ago. Oh my gosh, it's gone crazy. A first ever 7 rivers, 14 countries, 4 different ships, and 47 days. So it starts on June 1st in Paris in 2023, and it ends in Giurgiu. As I mentioned, Giurgiu is just under Bucharest in July. So this amazing epic journey, and so much is included. There's so much to tell you with this beautiful cruise, but I think the best thing to do is reach out to your Expedia Cruises consultant, and then, you know, I can even share more with you after if you're interested. We can have a one-on-one call with your consultant, and I can really tell you all the details, but there's so much to say. But anyway, that's just a teaser. And if you're interested, please do reach out. You can see the pricing is really reasonable, I think, for 47 days through these rivers on these beautiful little ships. Can you imagine? No more than 146 guests will take this entire journey across these countries on these ships with one cruise manager. It'll just be amazing. Now, if you are looking at 23, we do have our early booking discounts and such, but it really depends on when you're looking to travel. Now, I want to just talk about solo travelers very quickly. We have several different options for solo travelers. Some of our ships have solo staterooms that have no supplement. We have a standard 25% supplement across Europe and the Mekong for our window cabins and our staterooms in Europe, and our lead-in twin balconies on the Mekong. And in 21, if we open up enough time and later in the fall, you know, what have you, you might want to cruise, there are some specials there for solos. But again, reach out to your consultant and they can explain it to you better. But we love having solo guests. But solo doesn't mean you're necessarily traveling alone. It might just mean you want your own stateroom. So I travel with a lot of women, and I know they like having their own stateroom. So that's a look at Europe for sure.
Shauna, absolutely amazing how many itineraries, and you have brought back many, many memories for me. What I want to talk about for a few minutes, or want you to talk about, is some of the exotics. Now, I am very, very envious because I know you did this Africa trip a number of years ago. Please tell us a little bit more about Africa, a little bit more at Vietnam, Cambodia, and Egypt are some of the exotics that you're doing.
Yes, thanks, Lisa. We know that most people want to start in Europe. It's a very typical area for river cruising, right? And coming into the heart of these towns and cities along the river. But there's these incredible countries where there are rivers and these wonderful opportunities to really come in and explore these areas and do it in the comfort of a beautiful little river ship. And it's very, very special. So Africa, yes, I don't even have enough time to tell you all about it, but we have this beautiful little ship, the Zambezi Queen, that's on the Chobe River up in Chobe National Park, just about 40 minutes drive from Victoria Falls. And, can you imagine 14 staterooms? Here I was right here, standing in here, watching all the wildlife, the elephants, the giraffes. And what's so unique is we take little river boats out and we safari by boat and go to shore. You don't get off the boat, but we go through and, sail around. And on safaris, a lot of times you're watching the animals go to the river, but on the boat, you're watching them. They're coming to you to drink at the river, and it's just amazing. We also go and spend time in the park in safari jeeps as well. But being on the river, it's extra special. You see so many different things, especially when, animals start chasing each other in the water and all sorts of things. And when the elephants go under and their little trunk comes up like a little, it's really very, very special. But you can see here in the map, this is where Chobe River is in here. 4 nights on this little ship. And then we have all these packages that go around that very special little river cruise. So whether it's in Cape Town and spending time down there and in the wine country and seeing so much of that history, or Johannesburg. We also go to Victoria Falls, of course, because we're right there. Then we have Kruger, we have the Serengeti, we have Ngorongoro Crater. We even have Rwanda for the gorilla trekking and seeing the little tiny monkeys and stuff. So it's really an amazing program. And again, reach out and hear more. Vietnam and Cambodia and the Mekong. I've done this journey twice. To me, it's a very soul-changing experience. I love coming in here. It was the last cruise I did a year ago before we had to stop cruising. And I was so happy I was able to go back. It's a 7-night cruise on the Mekong River. And, it goes through Vietnam and through Cambodia, and then again through Vietnam, actually comes out of the Tibetan mountains. And you just see life so different on the river than you do when you're traveling on land. And then, of course, we add in time in Ho Chi Minh City, the former Saigon. We have time in Siem Reap for the beautiful temples of Angkor Wat, a must see. And then even time up in Hanoi with a night on a beautiful little cruise ship in Ha Long Bay to see that beautiful UNESCO site of all those, 1,000 islands with their own ecosystem and, forests, and it's just amazing. So you can see our little ship there, and this is just a little teaser to show you, but again, a very special journey. And we are there basically from January till April, and then again kind of August through till January. So you'll notice when you look sometimes at our itineraries, we're not there for months at a time, and it's probably because the weather's not the time to be there. So you can always see where the best weather is. And of course, reach out to your Expedia consultant. Egypt, we're very excited about because we're going next year in April. But our program, AmaWaterways, starts this September, actually, on the Nile, offering this incredible experience where you can come into Cairo and spend time seeing the pyramids and the Sphinx and all that beautiful city has to offer. We have optional tours into Dubai, and spending time over there. You can come into Jordan and spend time in Amman and see Petra. And then we also have a 4-night Taste of Israel package where you see Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and Old Jaffa, go out to the Dead Sea, you see the Masada area, so very lovely. But the main package is the 4 nights in Cairo at the beautiful Four Seasons Hotel, flying down to Luxor to get on to our beautiful ship and spending time, 7 nights. Here's the city of Cairo with the Nile coming through, one of the longest rivers in the world. It goes through 14 countries before it drops out into the Mediterranean Sea. And there is the Four Seasons right over here that we use. So we're right on the Nile. And then, you know, you'll see so much more. So when you get on our beautiful new Amadalia, only 34 seat rooms. And then we sail on this river. You're in the world's largest outdoor museum as you see all these tombs and temples that line the Nile River, and an optional tour to Abu Simbel, which is something you don't want to miss. So, and then we head back to Cairo. So beautiful, beautiful program.
Wonderful. Oh my God, Shauna, it's so very, very exciting. Tell us a little bit more about, you know, for people who want longer voyages, you've got your back-to-back promotions.
Yes, you know, we've, you know, most of our river cruises are 7 nights long in Europe specifically. And we have a few that are a little bit longer, 10, 11, 14 nights, but the majority are 7 nights. But we find that people are really looking for longer journeys. You know, 7 river journey, 47 days. Who knew? Right away, we had like 400 people pre-register. So, you know, people are looking for those longer journeys. They want to see more. And so we thought, well, why not do a combo? It doesn't even have to be back to back, but while you're over there, if you're going to combine more cruises, let's give you a little incentive. So you can take a cruise, do some land, take a cruise, or you can do them back to back. We figured it out that there's about 15,000 options of back-to-backs through Europe of things you can do and add. And we have this matrix, which is crazy. So, you know, you can do that. You can have a Rhone and a Portugal, or you can do a Danube and a Seine, or, you know, something that's naturally back to back. So that's what our back to back voyages are, or I should say combination cruises. So every time you book the next cruise, you get another 10% off, and that combines with any promotion that we're offering you already, and you become a past guest, so then you get a past passenger discount. So it just keeps getting better and better. And for 2022, everybody in Canada on a promo gets free gratuities as well. So that's an extra added bonus. And we also launched a new referral program. I know, Lisa, you were asking me about this not long ago, and I say, stay tuned because we're going to have some news. We know that we love our guests, you know, referring us to their friends and family. And so we've created a new program where we'll reward our guest for, you know, referring somebody new to us, and then the guest coming to us will get a discount as well. So we have that. Now at Expedia, we have so many wonderful promotions. I don't even want to begin to go through them all. It gets far too confusing, and it really depends on which itinerary you're choosing, what time of year, the list goes on. So you know, I always say, please go and talk to your Expedia Cruises consultant, and they can narrow it down for you. They can help you find, you know, the very best value for the cruise that you're looking for, and also help you maybe choose which one you might like, because people always say to me, Shauna, which one should I take? And I'm like, they're all wonderful, you know. So that's when we can really have those conversations and see what it is you're really looking to experience with the history, the culture, the art, the food, the wine. I mean, it's so incredibly wonderful.
Okay, Shauna, I think people also want a little bit of flexibility now because things are getting better, but they still are a little unsure. So you want to tell us a little bit about your Travel Waiver Plus?
Right. So first of all, if you do have anybody who's, I mean, because we are, believe it or not, lots of people are booking. They might not be traveling right now, but they definitely are booking. It's dreaming, it's planning. This is the perfect time. We are you know, we have all our itineraries, as I say, right through till the end of 2023. And we've already moved all those people from 2020 and you know, early 21 into 2022. So things are very busy and things are filling up. So if anybody is booking in 2021 to perhaps sail this year, and then you decide, I don't want to do that, or maybe you get closer and you're not quite ready to go, we'll move you over to the next year, no problem. That's not an issue. When you start booking into 22 and 23, where we believe we'll be sailing and things will be much better, much more sane. We have always had this program, but it's become even more important now, and it's our Travel Waiver Plus. So don't think of it as insurance, because it's not really an insurance plan. Insurance, you know, you can talk to Expedia Cruises. And what the Travel Waiver Plus does for Europe and the Mekong is it allows you to purchase this at time of deposit. It's only 175 Canadian. And you can cancel your cruise, your travel with us for any reason. Doesn't matter what the reason is, right up until 24 hours prior to the time your travel starts with us. If you have air, then that's included as well. And anything we can refund, we will. And anything that's in penalty, we will give you a future cruise credit to protect your money. So it's more of a peace of mind than it is in insurance.
Thank you. And I think we need to know that, because things are getting much better, as I said, but they are still unsure. All right, Shauna, if you don't mind, we've got a couple questions to ask.
Yes.
So from Kathy, how will shore excursions work now? Will they remain in a bubble only?
Well, right now, we don't know, because we haven't started sailing yet. We will be doing them. We'll do them small group. We'll have some private transfers. We'll have coaches where we'll have social distancing, things like that. But really, until we start traveling, it's not up to us. It's really up to the individual countries that we visit that will provide the mandates and the protocols. So we have to, of course, work with them, you know, CDC, World Health Organization, all of those things. So there's no one way for me to answer that, because it kind of hasn't happened yet. I know you might be thinking of some of the things that the ocean liners are doing, where they're not letting people go out of, you know, their tour groups. But in the river, it's quite a bit different. So, you know, again, we'll wait till we're ready to sail, and then we'll be able to tell everybody then exactly how that will all work.
And on that, and you mentioned it before, even prior to COVID, the groups that you did, there's so many options. And I remember whenever I've been on an AMA cruise, my biggest problem is, but I want to do that one, and I want to do that one, and I want to do that one. And all the groups were very, very small. So I never felt any issue in terms of being crowded. Thanks, Shauna, for answering that. Another question, what is the age demographics for AmaWaterways? Approximate age.
Yeah, river cruising in general, when you're talking about river cruising, typically our demographic for river cruising is anywhere from 50 to 90 till you can travel, no longer travel, right? And, you know, I said earlier that we do have some multi-generational families coming. So sometimes the demographic goes a little bit younger. It's really starting to expand in its reach. But what I love too is that no matter how old people are, they're travelers. They want to learn. They're embracing these beautiful places that we're visiting. So there's always such interesting conversations, but typically it still remains a 55, you know, plus demographic.
I also like to say young at heart, because even people might be a little bit older, but they're active and they're healthy. And all right, thank you for sharing that.
If you're traveling all the way from Canada when you're 85, you're young at heart, all right. and we get a lot of people doing that.
Question from Eric. I would imagine days in port are longer than an average ocean cruise. Is that the case?
Not necessarily, because sometimes we're there for the entire day and then overnight. Sometimes we're there half a day. It varies from itinerary to itinerary and the distance we need to travel. So, you know, I know ocean cruises are a very, very different thing, and they're covering a much greater distance than we ever are. So, you know, they've got to go out to sea and do their traveling again. We're just like down the road, right? So, you know, you're constantly in scenery because it's just always around you. But, you know, sometimes like the Danube itinerary, you know, that upper Danube is really nice because it's a shorter distance. So you've got lots of time. Same with Bordeaux. You know, different itineraries bring different timelines. So again, that's a conversation we'd need to take further.
And definitely, unlike an ocean cruise, when you come into port, you literally walk off and you're in the middle of town. So it's not a Rome to Civitavecchia, you know, transfer type thing.
No.
Question and you might not be able to answer it again because you haven't started cruising yet. Will AMA require a COVID vaccine prior to boarding?
I would imagine we are not at this time because we're not sailing yet. So it will really, I would think most of the airlines and probably a lot of the countries are going to ask for it. So of course we will just naturally have it because you'll have to have it to come over. Okay. We have not decided yet, but again, that will all come from the decisions made by governments and airlines and travel people and such. And there is a group in Europe that specifically meets together. It's a board, and they talk about all the river, you know, things that are going on and such. I know Rudy's on that committee, and so they talk daily, like literally daily, and they're always getting more and more information. So.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Shauna. One last question. What kind of medical services provided on board?
Well, we don't have doctors on board. Everybody is medically trained, you know, there's no first aid and such. We have defibrillators, but you have to remember, we're always right there at land. So we're very, very close to medical attention, doctors, hospitals. So we don't, you know, require having a doctor on board per se. It's a little bit different when we get out into Africa and the Mekong and such, when you're a little bit more remote. So that's a bit of a different situation, but in Europe, it's very easy. We can have somebody there in no time.
All right. Thanks, Shauna. That was amazing. And I've been very fortunate to have gone on a few AmaWaterways cruises. So a lot of the pictures you were showing, I was like, my heart was beating. It's like, I want to go back there. So for all of you who joined us tonight, thank you. Although travel is currently paused, the world is getting back to traveling again. And with all the great news about vaccines recently, it's not going to be that much longer. And it really is time to start. And when Shauna talked about 2023, we have never seen any of the cruise lines open up their itineraries so quickly. And the reason for it is things are selling out 2022, 2023, and we are not hard sell, but I have to tell you, if you are thinking of going, you need to start planning at this point because everybody's been missing it and the pent up demand. The new term is revenge travel. I have to make up for what I missed. So I want to thank you all for joining out. Please reach out to your consultants if you have any questions or want us to help you plan your next vacation. Remember to follow us on Facebook. Also check out our YouTube channel where this and all our other travel talks are recorded. And please join us next week. Our travel talk will be with Exodus Travels talking about adventure travel, and that'll be Thursday, March the 11th at 7 p.m. We do these travel talks every week. I can guarantee we're better than Netflix, so please tune in to us. I thank you for your joining us. I thank you for your past travels, and we look forward to doing future travels with us. Have a wonderful night, everyone.